Thank you very much, Martin. Thank you, Sergio, for this invitation. I'm very glad to be here. And thank you also, Ulrich, for your kind words. It is fantastic for me being here because, first of all, 20 years ago, it was a very important moment, a very interesting moment, and I was honored to be there and to be part of the beginning of this process. And let me start by saying that this process was, first of all, very interesting because it was at the very we were in between of a moment of difficulties in relationship with the globalization process. I think you remember very well what happened the year before in Seattle and what happened in 2001 in Genova G7 meeting. We were in a period in which the anti-globalization movement were very vocal and were also very, in some part of them, very violent, also in challenging these kind of events. And Bologna process was, I have to say, because my memory is very vivid there, Bologna process and Bologna event was an event where the security reasons were maybe as important as the content of the event. Because of this very anti-globalization mood, but we were very good. All the participants and of course the organizers and the security people in Italy were very good in reaching a very good final result. And today I think that I give also another view to all this movement and all these protests, because these 20 years of globalization without rules, or with this acceleration of globalization, created a lot of problems at the economic level and at the SMEs level. So I start by underline this point that is for me very important, of the memory of this event. The second point is related to the participants of the event. You see in the list of ministers present there, not only the OECD countries, but you see many other countries. First of all, countries coming from the northern part of Africa and countries coming from Asia. Mostly from the ASEAN countries. I mentioned these two geographical areas because it is clear that on the one hand, this process was not a positive one, or we didn't have the good development in Northern Africa or in the MENA countries, many problems there, and still many problems there. But if I see the developments in ASEAN countries, and in these very days, 3 days after the signature in Hanoi of this enormous event that is represented by RCEP, the new big agreement, the most important economic trade agreement at world level that 15 countries, the 10 ASEAN countries plus China, Japan, Korea, Australia, and New Zealand signed. Many of them were present in Bologna. And this is the demonstration that on Asia, this process had a completely different development. Bologna, and the choice of Bologna was because Bologna, you know very well, Bologna is the capital of Emilia-Romagna. Emilia-Romagna is the region where industrial district, SMEs, and the clusters are in Italy well working. And I have to say that many problems, some changes, but also value added in these 20 years in this area, with a very good internationalization, very good export, and some brands that are today more and more important coming from this region. I was very much interested in having some thoughts coming from what Markus Jager just said about Mittelstand and what is happening in Germany. I would be more than happy to compare the different situations. But if you allow me, Martin, I would like just in a few minutes to to say three words and three main topics about the post-Bologna in these 20 years and the situation today. Because at the end of the day, we are very happy because of some important results, some important developments, but I would like to underline here difficulties more than achievements. Because we are in a moment, because of COVID-19, and because in Europe of a next generation EU and this revolution that is taking place, a positive revolution that is represented by next generation EU, that we have to take the opportunity of this very moment to give a big boost on three main aspects that were at the very core of the Bologna Charter, and that in these 20 years experienced a lot of problems with the relationship with the SMEs. First of all, the access to finance. That was one of the key issues, and that is still a big problem for SMEs. First of all, because of the development of finance in the 20 years. We had a sort of turbo finance, and this turbo finance was not in favor of SMEs in these 20 years. We had a turbo finance in a sort of reverse way, in the way to create value from value without the link with the ground. And that was, for me, the most critical part of the problem. So I think it is still a challenge how to recreate a financial environment that can be useful for SMEs. And I strongly believe that we have to consider this point in Next Generation EU as one of the most important points. The second point is about technological transfers, because we know very well that the development and diffusion of new technologies for and by SMEs remains not fully satisfactory. And I think there are good examples, of course, but there are in general many difficulties. And I underline once again the role that Next Generation EU can have. I have to say also that the European Union, sorry if I underline the European Union, but the plan, the 750 billion euros is a unique opportunities for European SMEs. They decided to have two flagships, and two flagships are very good for SMEs if we create the conditions, sustainability and technology. And both are very positive and in line with what we decided 20 years ago in the Charter, in the Bologna Charter. My third point is about e-commerce and ICT, because we know very well that in these 20 years, the most important changes happened exactly in this world. And not many of them are positive for SMEs, but the digitalization that we are all experiencing in this very period can be an opportunity too. And I have to say that we need a European Commission very strong and an OECD very strong and very effective. Both are crucial to be able to challenge the big high-tech giants, both on fiscal, on antitrust rules. The OECD is doing a fantastic job, and we need a very powerful and effective OECD. And I would like to congratulate also Commissioner Vestager for her fantastic work in that direction. So I would like just to end up by saying that, as conclusion, that I strongly believe what I said at the very beginning. We are today, 20 years after, we have an enormous opportunity, unique. We never had such an opportunity, and I think it's maybe the last chance, because 750 billion euros in 4 years, with all the different targets and missions, it is fantastic to relaunch our system of SMEs. And I have to add, we are in a good mood because the general mood is a mood that is more positive for SMEs today than before, because we think that proximity, we think that close to the ground, national productions and be close to the consumer is today more positive than maybe even 2 or 3 years ago. So we have to take this momentum, and this is why I think the European Commission has to rethink completely the strategy for a sustainable and digital Europe. The European Commission launched this strategy March the 10th. Was exactly at the beginning of the pandemic. The world has completely changed. I think it is necessary to change also this strategy and to link this strategy to the next generation. So my final point is that we need, I hope this event can also help in that direction. We need a next generation EU strategy for SMEs. And this next generation EU strategy for SMEs can be conducted hand in hand with the OECD and the work of the OECD is doing, because part of this work is in the hands and in the responsibilities of the OECD. Thank you very much.